Cool, let's get started, 4 o'clock. Thanks everybody for coming. I am John Fancy, this is Matt Farmer, and this is Matthew Fortunka, but more about this chap in a moment. Today we're going to talk about Azure Integration Services. First, we're going to confuse you a little, that's why Matthew's here. But we're going to talk about Azure Integration Services, what it is, what it does, and why it's a useful thing to be aware of in your enterprise. Who here has the word integration in their job title? A couple of people. Things are changing, right? How many people do integration? You know, system to system, application to application is part of their role. Is that on the, keep your hands up if that's on the developer side? What about IT pros, DevOps type things? Ooh, okay, good. Cool. Right, we're going to do a lot of demos as part of this, show you what's new, what's coming. But first, let's try this. Right, it's my very great pleasure to introduce Matthew Fortunka from Confused.com and Admiral Insurance. Green. Nope. No green light. Yep.
How about now? How better? Yay! My name is Matthew Fortunka. And I'm here to tell you how my company, Admiral, and I fundamentally changed the UK car insurance business. Now, in the UK, there are 30 million cars on the road. 1 in 7 of those are insured with Admiral. This is astounding when you think that there are 100 insurers out there competing for business every single day. This is a direct result of Admiral using technology to change an industry. For the last 10 years, I've been designing and implementing cloud solutions for the Admiral Group. I've seen the company grow from 50 people based out of Cardiff in the UK up to 10,000 people worldwide. I've seen us grow from a single customer to 4 million customers and a profit every year of about $500 million. Now, the Admiral journey begins back in the 80s, and this is a shot from back in the 80s. This is some of the original staff, and our current CEO is amongst those. And they're doing the great British tradition of the egg and spoon race. And if you'd like to know more about great British traditions like that, then please come and talk to any of us afterwards. 25 years ago, the way that people got insurance was radically different to the way it is now. To get insurance, you phoned up 2 or 3 different providers. You gave each of them your details. They would then come back to you with a price. And then you would compare them, and then you would pick the cheapest, and then every single year you would renew with that company, and every single year they put the price up just a little bit. And there was no easy way of telling how good a deal you were actually getting without going through that whole process all over again. For Admiral, this represents a bit of a problem. They were relatively new. How do you convince people to switch to a new provider without spending a fortune on TV? In the early 2000s, a group of highly skilled engineers founded Confused.com. The plan was simple. We would take the customer's details once, send those off to 100 different providers, and then let the customer decide, and then contact the insurer directly. We made it quick and simple for customers to switch. This was a fundamental change to the way car insurance was bought in the UK. Today, 50% of the traffic to all insurers comes from price comparison sites. And the Confused.com systems deliver 2 billion prices to customers every single year. Now, at the heart of everything that Confused does is technology. We are essentially a technology company. And 6 years ago, we went through our own transformation, a transformation to a cloud business. Rival price comparison sites were already rising up, and they were putting us under a lot of pressure. We needed to move faster. And a lot of our systems were starting to show their age. After a 6-month migration project, our product owners reaped the benefits, and they were able to see much faster changes into production. Today, the Confused.com systems handle 2,000 releases into production every year. This move to Azure also gave us the ability to experiment and to try out new products. And in 2015, I was tasked with creating a website to bring the skills we'd taken to insurance to car buying. Now, I don't know what it's like here, but in the UK, car buying is not a very pleasant experience. You've got to go out to a dealer, you've got to deal with pushy salespeople, you've got to work through complex finance agreements, and all those hidden little extras. What Confused.com wanted to do was to create a totally online journey. So you chose your car, you financed your car, you insured your car, and then we delivered your car to you. Thanks to Azure, we went from concept to live in 3 months. And this kind of now goes back full circle, because the parent company, Admiral, are looking at what Confused has done and looking at Confused with technology at the heart of everything it does. And the CEO has stated that he wants Admiral to be a technology company. So part of my new role now is to look at doing to money lending what we did to car insurance and car buying. Admiral Financial Services is built on the Azure Integration Platform. Now, Admiral has gone from a successful company of 50 to 10,000. Our office parties went from filling meeting rooms to filling stadiums. And what you're seeing here is the result of one of the latest parties that we had about 6 months ago. Over half of the business Admiral now does is through price comparison sites. Admiral uses its technology prowess to launch similar sites in Spain, in Italy, in France, and most notably with Compare.com in the US. I hope you've enjoyed the story. I'll hand you back over to the guys now. If you want to know any more, please come and find me after the show. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks, Matt. Yes, it's working. Okay. Great stuff. Thank you very much. So what we want to talk about now is something we're calling Azure Integration Services, which is the name of this talk. There's no surprises, fading in out, no surprises, given you're all sitting here and aren't leaving in droves. Fundamentally, things are changing in the world of integration. You know, the number of people who put their hands up or who kind of have integration as a job title is kind of interesting. Hardly anybody, right? Whereas it's very different to 10 years ago, where we kind of had integration architects and people who had integration as their primary job function. Because things are really democratizing, things are transforming in this space, and this is all being driven by the need to increase the rate of change of business, which we all know as digital transformation. The ability to engage customers, transform products, and just go through this cycle much more quickly than has been possible in the past. And integration has a key role to play in this. Businesses depend on all kinds of applications, not just applications, but obviously mission-critical applications. You know, Azure is built for this type of workload. Azure is built for 24/7 operations. We have a lot of people running on Azure today doing things like critical business-to-business transactions or IoT-type scenarios where you know, messages are flowing in and out 24/7 all year round. And there's an opportunity here when you look at the capabilities that we have in Azure, the integration services that we have that make up Azure Integration Services, to provide value to your customers internally and externally, to the trading partners and other partnerships that you have. But the problem today is that it's actually a hard thing to do, right? So value is actually lost when it's difficult to do this, or rather opportunities are lost when this is a hard thing to get done. But the facts are, you know, a statistic shared from Gartner that nearly 2/3 of organizations in sort of 2.5 years' time will have implemented some kind of hybrid integration platform, something that can connect everything that they've got, wherever it resides, whether it's things on premises on their own data center, whether it's to trading partners, whether it's using the cloud, whether it's using SaaS applications. The fact is it's probably going to be a combination of all of those things. And most companies, the majority of companies, will have implemented a hybrid integration platform, something that can do that job without having to build all this stuff themselves. And application integration is really the backbone of this digital transformation. This is how you get agility. This is how you get time to market. This is how you get efficiency. And there's a number of integration scenarios, and there's really just 4 main ones that we call out here. App to app, obviously business to business, you know, exchanging invoices and orders and those types of things, and been doing that for a long time. SaaS, more modern way of doing integration to SaaS applications, whether it's to Salesforce or to Dynamics or Office, or third-party, very discrete consumer-based services, whether it's Dropbox or anything else like that. And of course, IoT, the ability to actually ingest data from devices is becoming prevalent now as well. But each one of these comes with, you know, a large number of challenges associated with it. This is not easy, as I was saying a second ago. Everything has a different interface, a different API, a different way to connect to it, different protocol. It has a different data source or representation or format that you have to deal with. It could be service-oriented, it could be SOAP-based, it could be REST-based, it could be something else, it could be distributed, it could be centralized, and it could be on-premises or it could be in the cloud. All of these present challenges for connectivity to being able to do integration efficiently. So the solution to this is to think about it as a service. It's like an integration platform as a service, or an iPaaS, is really where the industry's been moving to over the last few years. This actually provides a number of additional benefits. Besides just making integration easier, it adds the agility and adds the opportunity to do things like embracing the API economy, being able to take everything and turn it into a set of APIs, to make assets that you have locked on premises and make them exposable and configurable and securable to third parties, trading partners over the internet or over private networks. And do this in a flexible way, so you've got to rewire your application network as you build out these integration capabilities and connect things on premises to things in the cloud, to SaaS applications. Oftentimes, organizations are finding that the IT department isn't even necessarily part of the conversation when SaaS applications are being procured now. It's just a reality that you have to deal with. And you have to figure out how to connect these things together as quickly as possible because somebody else outside of the IT department made the decision to buy that SaaS service. All of these things move you towards the ability to transform your business, to unlock new opportunities and gain efficiency. Matt.
There we go, I'm on. Can you hear me? So what John's been talking about is integration platform as a service in a generic sense. You know, what's the problem we're trying to solve? Why are we trying to solve it, and how are we trying to solve it? So what can Microsoft do in this space to help you? Well, in our team, we talk to an awful lot of customers about the challenges they're trying to solve in this space, trying to build integrations and doing it in an efficient way, in a standardized way. And we find that there's 4 main components that keep coming up that are absolutely essential to building these sorts of solutions. and they are APIs. Generally, HTTP APIs is the kind of de facto standard for exchanging information. Workflows and orchestration to put together business processes to make things happen in specific orders and ways. There is messaging, so being able to store a group of messages and then process them within different systems within your business. And then finally, events, so being able to react to things when they happen, rather than building lots of systems that talk all over the place to other different systems when they don't need to. Actually reacting when there's something to do. You'll notice, if you're familiar with Azure at all, that we have some logos here that reflect products within the Microsoft Azure estate that speak to those tasks. So we have Azure API Management, Logic Apps, Service Bus, and Event Grid. Just adjust my color because it's annoying. And basically what we're suggesting for an iPaaS is we bring those systems together. We're bringing them together as Azure Integration Services. So Azure Integration Services based on those 4 particular services within Azure that are all generally available today as a unified iPaaS in the cloud. So just kind of reiterating what John's already said, but from a view of our iPaaS platform. Azure Integration Services, by building solutions with it, makes it really easy for you to connect application to application, kind of the one that we're all doing a lot of all the time. Being able to integrate your existing stuff, talking to new other stuff within your estate. But also, it makes it easy to connect outside your organization. I mean, John talked about API economy as one of the things that's a really important trend that's affecting how we build software. Being able to put HTTP APIs out there on the edge of our estate so others can interact with them, can send information to you, consume your data, build new solutions from it. So Azure Integration Services makes it really easy for you to do that. And actually, when we're talking about operating with partners, we also have more traditional things like B2B and AS2, for example, exchanging documents with trading partners. And then finally, connecting applications and services to be innovative. So we're all thinking about how we can bring SaaS in, how we can make the most of our data, how we can create new solutions. Having Azure Integration Services as a platform allows you to innovate. You heard the story, Matt's story about Confused.com as an innovation wave within Admiral Insurance. Having the ability to build solutions quickly, try them out, test them, get them to market is absolutely something the platform allows you to do more quickly. Let's talk quickly about, let's talk quickly about the individual services within Azure Integration Services for those of you who aren't familiar with them. Azure API Management, a service has been available in Azure for about 4 years now, is a platform for you to publish APIs, secure them, do things like rate limits, but also engage developers. API Management comes with a pre-built developer portal that automatically you can use, comes out of the box, and you can engage developers to come in, find out about your APIs, work with them. And those can be developers outside your organization or inside. And you can also do things like gain insights to how those APIs are being used as well. Azure Logic Apps is our platform for doing workflow and orchestration in the cloud. It comes with a whole host of connectors, so pre-built ways to connect to services and SaaS, so you don't have to write them yourself. And it allows you to connect on premises to data that you've got running in your data center, and allows you to build all these things with a web-based workflow. Azure Service Bus is our solution in the cloud for creating message stores, message queues. So you can put objects, documents, whatever you need into that queue, and then siphon them off, process them as you need when you need it. And it includes with that enterprise features like deduplication, as well as solutions for disaster recovery. So you can make sure it's not something transient. And you can do things like message routing based on the types of information in those messages as well. And then Event Grid, the newest service within this list, gives you a way to build HTTP-based event-driven applications. So rather than saying, is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? You can build applications that say, I've got something for you, and other applications can react to them and process them. So those are the 4 core services within Azure Integration Services. What we want to make clear and not confuse you is that you know, the rest of the estate of Azure is still there for you. We see these 4 core services as being really part of building that central platform, but that doesn't mean you can't go and use things like functions to do, you know, blobs of compute or blob store itself for storing documents. Obviously, Azure Integration Services interacts and works with all these other services to build up the solution you need. What it's about is giving you a starting place, a platform that you can build from. The other thing we do is, of course, connect to on-premises, allowing you to build those hybrid applications that are connecting back to your existing data center or a partner's data center, and be able to connect into traditional ERP systems and databases, as well as connecting to all those new SaaS services you want to start to use in your applications as your company evolves. There's a few key concepts, and I'm going to do a demo in a minute that kind of shows you how to build a simple application with this, but that are at the heart of this, and they go to some of those things that PaaS platform delivers for you. So API first. By building things with HTTP APIs at their core, you're allowed to take those and interact with partners because you're using JSON, using HTTP, all protocols that are very well-known, well-supported, and easy for people to interact with. Orchestration of systems. You could write code for everything if you want to, but by using a workflow designer that Logic App has, you can orchestrate systems without having to write code. You do it in the easiest way possible first, and if that works for you, you carry on using it. Message storage infrastructure, so using Service Bus as a reliable place to put your messages, queue them up and process them. And this allows you to scale your applications very easily because you can add bigger and bigger queues, and you can scale by taking those messages off the queue when you're able to process them. And then event-driven, so building your applications to emit events so that others can consume them. It's more efficient. It's a simple programming model to follow. So let's do a little demo of how this actually works in practice. While I wait for my machine to wake up. I'm just going to run through it so we understand what we're looking at. So let's imagine if you had to write an application to process orders. You would probably have, it would be something that would be very key for your business, involve a number of different steps. So let's imagine processing those orders involved calls to a bunch of older systems or new systems in the cloud. You would have to write something that calls one system, then another, and maybe does another call at the same time, and then process the result and move on. Well, a Logic App can do that. So our first Logic App is calling to a number of different systems, processing the order. How does that Logic App start? Well, it's called by Event Grid. Event Grid is triggering the Logic App to start because it has a message on Service Bus. So Event Grid is the glue between Service Bus and Logic Apps to say, I've got something for you to go and do. That way, from a consumption point of view, you're being as efficient as possible because you're only running your compute when you need to. Service Bus is queuing up those orders when they're ready to go, so other systems can take the orders and process them. And it may be, we're using in this demo, a Service Bus topic. So you may have other systems that want to consume directly from the Service Bus topic rather than using the Logic App. That's absolutely fine, and that gives you flexibility in how you design that system. We have a second Logic App. And this Logic App actually does the process of just getting the order ID, ready to go, and telling the customer, I'm going to process it for you. And when you've got long-running activities, you don't want to have one Logic App that's doing all that process orchestration and waiting. It may take you several hours or days to process that order. So separate them up, separate the concern. You may have other Logic Apps or other services that create orders on that queue. It's entirely up to you, but by separating them up like this, it gives you flexibility in how you build that system. And then finally, going back to our discussion about API economy and how we surface these things out, we take that Logic App and we publish it as an operation on an API within Azure API Management. The callers to that API have no idea what system you're using to process these orders. They just know it's an HTTP API. If you decide to change all these systems, you're entirely free to do so. The interface that you publish out to your consumers never needs to change. So that is the simple application I'm going to show you on this demo here. The thing I want to point out about it is, obviously, I've simplified it massively for the demo, but I haven't written any code to do this. This is all done with configuration. So let's have a look. Oops. Okay. So hopefully, we're on the right one. Windows P, hang on. We seen it? Yes, we are. There we go. Good. Okay, so I'm in the Azure portal, and I've got a resource group for my good friends at Fabricam. If you've been around Microsoft before, you'll have noticed their career success that they've gone through. We're going to look at what we've built for Fabricam here. So let's go to that first Logic app I talked about. And we will go and edit it. I'm just going to show you what I actually built to do this. Now, this is greatly simplified because it's, again, just a demonstration. But I said we used event grid to trigger this Logic app off. So it only starts with an event grid that says there's something to do, and that's what we've done here. We've received this. There was a little bit of configuration, but it was all done within the Logic apps UI. Then we've gone to Service Bus and said, all right, there's something to do. I'm going to go off and I'm going to go and get the messages from Service Bus. And then I've got them as a chunk, makes it easier for me. And I've used a for each loop to loop through all the messages I have in the body. I'm doing some parsing and doing some verification to check that. So if you look in here, we've got a schema validation. Checking that the messages are conformant. I'm actually just posting them to Teams and sending an email here. But they could be calling your ERP system. They could be calling out to a SaaS service. They could be doing all these things within this Logic app. I'll look at the other Logic app. Service Bus is doing what Service Bus is doing. It's configured as a store. It's waiting to receive messages on the queue and ready to have them taken from it. The other Logic app we're doing is purely processing the order. So I'm actually using, in this demo, I'm using Dynamics to actually create a record for me as a CRM system. I'm doing some little bit of JavaScript composition of the JSON message, and then I'm putting the message on the queue and sending a response back to the caller. So imagine if this was a basket on an e-commerce website. I would make a call to this operation to say, process my order. It would be churning away for a little bit and then respond to say, here's your order ID. We'll come back to you when your order is ready. And then finally, we go into Azure API Management. So the way in which we've created this API is by importing it as a Logic app. I won't go through that now, as it will take a few minutes. But basically, we've imported this Logic app as an API. It's set it up for us. I don't need to write any code to do that. And what I have in here is my process order operation ready to go. You see that I've imported it as an Azure Logic app, and it's telling me all the information about how I've configured it. Sorry about the small screen. If I expand that, you'll see a little bit more. I'm publishing this through the developer portal. Come on. There we go. And I say, this developer portal comes out of the box. You don't have to configure it unless you wish to. You can obviously change the color and the way it looks. But my API is here, documented within Azure API Management. Information about the schema that I'm, the JSON schema that I'm sending to it, information about the responses, code samples. And again, I've done no coding to make all that happen. So that's a very quick demo. Which one number were we? 3? 5. Sorry. There we are, we're back. There we are. So that's a very, very quick demo of the pieces lining up together. So we've talked about Azure Integration Services as our iPaaS, our integration platform as a service offering. Now, the pieces that you saw today are there, they're generally available. They come together into solutions that you can build out from them. But we want to give you a lot more than that and make it a lot easier for you to build those solutions. So some of those things are there today, and some of the things based on the vision we want to get to will come over the next year, year and a half or so. But we very much want this platform to be something that's complete and industry leading, allowing customers to build integration platform as a heart of a lot of their business applications, where everything works better together. So even more automation to help you link Logic Apps to API management, to Service Bus, to Event Grid, to other Azure services, to SaaS, so that you have to do as little as possible coding and even as little as possible configuration to be able to build these solutions. Because when you look at the example that we talked about with Confused, it was all about how quickly they could build these things out, how quickly they could get them to market, and how they could test them and take them forward. We want to make sure it's tried and trusted. So the flip side of this is we don't want you to have to take massive risks. We want you to be able to trust that we've done the diligence and we've thought this through. So we have reference architectures available for integration services available today. We will be adding more of those, as well as templates and patterns that you can follow for simple things like continuous integration. So you don't have to work out how to do it all yourself. We just provide a template for you to use. And then we want to make sure that you can do this integration everywhere. So this is one of our goals that we're looking at exactly how we implement, being able to make sure that you can do the integration where you need it done. So maybe that is in your data center. Maybe that is on the edge in an IoT device. Making no promises about how we do that yet, but that's our vision for the future. And then the last one, integration for the many, not the few. It was interesting when John asked how many of you have integration in your job title. It was almost nobody put their hand up. Certainly in the past, integration's been a bit of a specialist subject, and it's had specialist software to enable people to implement things. But we want to free you up to be able to start quickly and cheaply, to be able to model what you want to build, as well as scaling up to the largest possible implementations, so you know that whatever size of application you're trying to build, we have a solution for you that's accessible. Little note, we're quite proud of this one, that we're already in the leader quadrant for Gartner. They did a survey back in April, earlier on this year, placing us in the leader quadrant for integration platform as a service. We expect this to go up and to the right, and that's absolutely our vision for where we go from here. One more thing to call out. We've got a free white paper available today, and this was written in partnership with industry luminary David Chappell, who's been around Microsoft and Azure for many years. He's helped us to write this paper. You can go and download this now. It's free to access. That tells you more about the services and how they come together to build solutions. So I just want to call out now that this is a big topic. We've told you the high level of how these things work, and we're going to go deeper into some more of this area, but we're not going to be able to cover everything in this session. So there are plenty of other sessions at Microsoft Ignite this week. They're going to cover integration services or one aspect of it, so I encourage you to go along and take on board some of the new announcements and things there. But I think the thing we want to emphasize is that this unified vision across Azure Integration Services is going across all those sessions, all those products as part of it. So what we're going to do now, we talk about hybrid integration and connecting to SaaS and connecting to systems. The part of Azure Integration Services that really helps with that the most is Logic Apps. So the rest of this session, we're going to go deeper into new announcements and discovering more about Logic Apps. John.
All right, thank you very much. Who here is using Logic Apps today? Oh, just a handful of people. So while I'm here, who's using Service Bus then? The same. API management? Event Grid? Wow. So most of you aren't using any of these integration technologies today. Interesting. So as Matt said, we've got too much content to cover in a single session. So we've broken this out into Azure Integration Services, then Logic Apps, and then we have sessions on Event Grid and Service Bus, and on API management as well later in the week. So what I want to do here then, is probably benefit for you guys if you've not played around with Logic Apps, is kind of give you a very quick, on a slide view of what Logic Apps is. As Matt described, it's our workflow and integration engine that runs in Azure. It's innovative in that it's a visual design experience, so there's no code required. You can write code if you want to write code. You can integrate functions if you want to do that. but you don't have to do that. It's very easy to use because of this visual design experience. It has very common kind of programming constructs like conditions, if then else, switch case loops, whether it's do until or for each, and a bunch of other things, even doing things in parallel. And of course, it's built for mission critical applications that I mentioned earlier. And we have over 200 connectors available. I think we're approaching about 220 connectors for this, to everything from SaaS applications to on-premises data sources. We have over 20 of those you can access on-premises, to traditional kind of ERP systems. I'm going to talk a lot about that a bit later, to pretty much anything else. And if you don't have the connector, let us know, and we'll see where it is in our backlog. If you can't wait, you can actually build your own connectors as well. I think
my session on Wednesday,
we'll talk about that later on in the week as well. Okay, we also have DevOps kind of built into this experience. So a Logic app is an Azure Resource Manager template. It's a sort of definition in JSON. So you can kind of create, deploy, and manage these. We have a full set of APIs, and we also have DevOps kind of connectors to Visual Studio Online, GitHub, and a bunch of others. So you can actually automate things with Logic apps as well as integrate things with Logic apps. Here's an enormous list of connectors. I won't go through all of those one by one. Probably one of the key things I just want to call out quickly with Logic apps is it's always had this hybrid architecture. So in the center, you see Logic apps radiating out with all these connectors. On the left-hand side, we have all our Azure connectors. On the right-hand side, we have all of our other cloud connectors, whether it's Dynamics or Office. OneDrive for kind of consumer-based integration, as well as this funky little box full of other funky little color boxes, is a real word, called the integration account. And this is a artifact repository where you can put things like schemas for message validation or trading partner configuration, and a bunch of other things as well, certificates for sort of managing exchange of data securely in an encrypted way. And that gives you the ability to do BDB and EDI, as well as XML and JSON transformation using that. And then we have the data gateway, which is a service which you install in your own data center. You run it on one or more servers because it's clusterable, so there's no single point of failure. And then that will connect to other things that you have on premises, things like SharePoint or SQL Server or Oracle DB or DB2. Even BizTalk Server if you're running that. So you can actually access BizTalk Server applications via a data gateway from Logic apps as well. But we also have another option now. We have something called the Integration Service environment, which gives you the ability to do VNet connected integration from Azure or from Logic apps now as well. And this will, I'll show this a little bit later, but this lets you connect directly from resources in Azure to resources in your own data center in a more efficient, in a dedicated way. So you get things like isolation, both storage and compute, as well as a sort of fixed monthly price as well. Okay, so kind of introducing this concept of an integration service environment, what does it give me? Well, it gives me, of course, gives me VNet connectivity. It also gives me static outbound IP addresses. It gives me custom inbound domain names, as well as the dedicated compute and isolated storage I mentioned and a flat cost. So let's take a quick look at what this thing looks like. Let's switch to machine 7. Always a little scary when we do this. Why didn't, oh, sorry, that's you. Let's look at Matt's machine. Okay, so I've got a few things here. I've got, the things I want to focus on here is, I've got these two Logic apps, SQL Insert Gateway and SQL Insert ICE, Integration Service Environment. So, let's just open one of these up. I'm actually connected to my ICE right now through VNet, so I can deploy Logic apps into it. This one is running just in the public domain. It's running, if you have a look at the URL on this thing, because you can make all Logic apps kind of directly accessible. You can see this is running in West US. And this is just going to call stored procedure called add order. And if I hit that endpoint, hit that West US endpoint, this is a fantastic demonstration of my HTML skills. You should see, as I refresh this thing, that it's using the data gateway and it's kind of going up one by one. And if I flip over to SQL and I'm going to run this query, you see I've just added, just added 3 orders. And then I have this other one. I have my ICE connected Logic apps. I can open that up. and sort of see the subtle difference here that when I open up this logic app, everything looks exactly the same, even though it's deployed to my dedicated instance. Open this thing up, I have on my SQL connector now, I have this ICE designation telling me that this is running inside of my integration service environment over the VNet, still calling the same add order store procedure, which is on my SQL box, actually on my machine, on my laptop here. So I can hit that endpoint, and it should kind of increase in the same way. Oh, maybe not. So it took a little while. Usually quicker than that. It's going to be interesting. So you see it's sort of going up, and I can go over to here, and you can see I've added, some more orders. So very simple to set up. It's still an integration platform as a service. There's no infrastructure to manage. We do all of that again for you. We provision the integration service environment. Then you just deploy your artifacts to it, deploy your logic apps to it. But obviously with a number of additional benefits. Now, if I just quickly flip back to the slides, I just call out something else. That on my machine, and I'll make this very clear, we haven't shipped this yet. This is in private preview. I'll come to that in a second. On my machine, although you couldn't quite see it there, I'm not sure why, it's about 4 times quicker using the VNet connectivity than it is using the data gateway. Obviously, your mileage may vary. It depends on the payload size. Obviously, this is very small, but we expect, given the network optimizations that you can have with things like VNet gateways and other things, you'll get higher throughput and better performance using the integration service environment as well as all those other benefits as well. Particularly for things like larger file transfers, because the data gateway has a 2 meg kind of limit today. You can chunk that up, but those chunks are unnecessary when you're directly connected over the VNet. And it also supports a higher number of concurrent connections, so you can get higher sort of parallelized throughput through it as well. But as I said, this was on my machine, on my laptop, running on Wi-Fi in the office, so your mileage may vary. It may be better, it may be worse. Okay, so this is in private preview right now. If you're interested in looking at this, please fill out this quick form, just a few questions on there. AKMS ICE private preview, and we'll evaluate that and get back in touch with you. It will be public previewing later this year. Okay, Matt.
So I'm going to talk about something new, and while I do that, John's going to set up his next demo because it's really fiddly, and we hope it goes perfectly swimmingly. So who was in Scott Hanselman's session just before this? Anybody? Did he announce this? Anybody? Yes? No? He did. Oh, there you go. Well, let me announce again.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, exactly. The $10 was paid for. The second announcement. So today we're releasing a new Logic Apps extension for VS Code. VS Code extremely popular IDE across different platforms. So our new IDE means you can develop Logic Apps on Linux. You can develop it on Mac. It's completely open sourced, so if you're really interested in getting involved with us and helping build some fantastic tooling for Logic Apps, you can. And at the moment, it's very much focused on the developer, so it allows you to build the Logic Apps code view with IntelliSense. We'll be adding all sorts of other features to it over time, but we wanted to get it out to you as quickly as possible. So let's give you a quick demo of that. Okay, so we're just going to create, as quickly as possible, a very, very simple Logic app. But if you think about how much code it would take to write this another way, and how quickly I'm able to implement it, it shows you the power of using our tooling. So I have, John talked about it earlier, the integration account, which is our place for storing maps and schemas that you want to use in your integration. So I have one already set up here called customer order, and I have all my other stuff that I have in my integration account here ready to go. I also have all my Logic apps that I have in this particular subscription I'm connected to, and we're going to go and edit this one called Validate Order. Now, you'll see that Validate Order has absolutely nothing in it. So how quickly can I build up, using our editor, a simple Logic app that takes our schema, validates an incoming payload based upon it, and returns a successful result if it is okay. Let's do that now. So if I just add request, I get IntelliSense that generates most of the code for me that I need to use. So that's the incoming thing that's going to trigger the request is an HTTP request. I'm going to add an XML validation action. And I need to just tell it that it needs to process the trigger body, which is the body of what comes into the thing that's triggering the logic app. And I need to tell it the schema that I need to use, which is customer order. And then finally, we need to add one more action, which is the response, which is going to tell the caller that everything is A-OK with their payload. And I need to make sure that we run this after the previous action. So I'm going to add XML validation. And then just succeeded. And that is it. That is all you need to do to create a logic app that validates an XML payload. And I can save that away, Control S. There we go. It's saving it up to the cloud. That's it. So this was a very, very short demo. We have a whole session on this this evening. If you're coming down to the expo for the drinks and networking we've got down there, my colleague Derek is doing a whole session on this. We can find out lots more about it and how you can contribute. And then we flip back. John.
Right, yeah. Pretty interesting stuff, right? I mean, today, obviously, I started talking about a visual designer, and now you can create logic apps easily in VS Code in the JSON rep as well, right? Just before we move on to the kind of SAP connector, we'd love to have your feedback on this. You can download this today. Just back up again, download this today, click on this link and install it. And of course, because integration is heterogeneous, this is a big deal for us because we think the tools for integration should also be heterogeneous. You can install VS Code on a Mac. You can do logic apps development on that Mac just as easily as you can do logic apps development on a Windows machine. Because you may not have, you may have Windows machines as well as other types of machines in your organization, Linux and everything else. It's a heterogeneous environment, and you should have the tools that match the environments in which you're doing the integration in. So we have a richer roadmap for this. We are looking at how we bring the visual designer to VS Code as well as full IntelliSense to make it even easier to author in code as well as authoring using the designer, should you wish to do that. So I encourage you to try it out and let us know what you think. Right, so another announcement, which you already just saw, so you probably read the slide already. So we have the SAP connector now for ECC, so the SAP's ERP systems, available in public preview as of today. The number one feature in everything we do in logic apps is easier integration. So we thought hard about how we can make integration with SAP easier compared with what's been done in the past, and we think we've done a pretty good job here. It allows you to not just send data to SAP, but it also allows you to receive data as well in an efficient way without having to use polling. We use a webhook pattern to be able to get notifications when data has been created or changed in SAP as well. Supports all the usual SAP constructs like BAPIs, RFCs, and IDOCs. And there's no SAP system footprint for this. And you can even generate the schemas from the SAP system using the metadata in SAP, and it will store those in the integration account for you as well. So let's take a quick look at that before I come back to that. Okay, 6. So I'll open the logic app first, and then I'll open SAP, and then we all get scary. Okay, so in this logic app, I'm going to show the creating something in SAP and actually triggering a logic app to do that. Now, the way this works is that I can sort of drill down. Once I made a connection to SAP, I can then drill down into the SAP metadata for the thing that I am interested in. In this case, because it's acting as a receiver, I just need to provide a program ID, which is an RFC, which will be called on the SAP side, will trigger my logic app, and then I'm going to use a liquid transform to convert the XML that comes back from this call and creates a new order in Dynamics. And I see I'm just kind of mapping the data from SAP into Dynamics. I can pop over here somewhere, I've got a few windows open and sort of see what's going on in Dynamics. What do I have? I've just got a couple of orders there. So I come back here. Now, if I go into SAP, who here uses SAP? All right, good. A few people, awesome. So you will be very familiar with this. For the rest of you, please bear with me. So I'm going to go into SAP and I'm going to create a purchase order. I'm just using the sort of test harness in SAP to do this. So let's see what this looks like. So I'm just pulling up a BAPI. This allows me then to get to these test screens and I can create a purchase order, and I just need to provide some minimal information. So I just click on PO header and I give this thing a name, I don't know, PO1. I also need to give it a company code, 8210. And just putting some bare minimum, because who likes watching somebody enter purchase orders live on stage? And I'll just back up. So that's a purchase order. I can add a line item to the purchase order and just think of something else. That's, I don't know, books, material, paper, right? And just back that up and back it up again. And then I just need to find the right thing to click on here. And this is where I type in that RFC that the Logic app has registered. So Logic apps is taking the place of essentially another system in SAP to be able to receive requests from SAP when they're generated. So I'll just type in some more random numbers here. This is the RFC, and I can just do that. And now I can execute this thing. And when I run this, it comes back almost immediately in 163 microseconds. If I go back to my Logic app and kind of come back out and have a look at my run history in Logic apps, it failed. Interesting. You know what that means? I forgot to do something. It failed previous dynamics. Interesting. Okay. But it did receive the request from SAP. Something, probably something in the data that I entered. Maybe I didn't enter all the mandatory fields. I will show you one I did earlier that did succeed, just to prove that this one worked, and we'll have a look at that.
You did this deliberately just to prove it was a live demo, right?
I did, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I thought so.
So this is what it should look like, green ticks all the way down the line. And you sort of see, you know, it's created a new order, and I sort of scroll down, look at all the data that's in this order, name of books, and then when I flip over to Dynamics, you see, hey, there's my books purchase order that I just created in Dynamics, right? Okay, I don't have time to debug that, unfortunately. Well, not just yet anyway. So let's pop back to the slides. Okay, moving on. So quick recap. So what's happening here is it's a two-step process, right? I create a Logic app, and the Logic app then registers at runtime using the data gateway to receive notifications from SAP. So the whole thing is sort of joined up end to end. So I can go into SAP and I can configure the Logic app to call, and the Logic app registers with the gateway the other way around with its SAP trigger, and the data can flow from SAP when it's generated. Okay. More connectors. Okay. Right, another one. Is it still me?
It is.
Still me. Right, another one. Just a sneak peek here. This is a fun one. So we're not shipping this today, just to sort of set expectations, but hopefully not too far into the future. So we have a new technology. For those of you who are still running IBM mainframes or mid-range systems like AS400 or compatible systems, that allows you to do screen scraping of these applications and auto-magically be able to provide all those input and output fields and map in and out of your Logic apps to drive these mainframe applications as well. Again, you know, the ability to do that over a VNet, over your integration service environment is key here. Again, very simple to use. I'll show that in a second, to be able to create the mapping and the navigation flows of these applications. And we have a few things on the roadmap as well for the 5250, so AS400, as well as Kix TI, if you're familiar with HIS. You'll be able to do similar things you can do in HIS and do them in Logic apps as well. So let's take a quick look at that.
Switch input.
Yes, good call. Yeah, I'm switching to you again. See, like your machine. It's that VS Code stuff. It's awesome. Right, let's come back out again, and we're going to look at this thing. It's banking demo, not a Logic app. Let's let this thing open up. Why it's taking a while. I see this thing in action. Right, so a few things going on here. The main thing of interest is this guy here, this IBM mainframe connector, that allows me to pick an operation that's been defined through a map to a mainframe screen that allows me to then map in the input and output fields. So I am providing three things. I'm providing a first name and a last name, and I'm providing an account number, and it's going to put all that in, and it's going to give me a balance back. Excuse me. So in order to do that, I've got to get the data from somewhere. So I've got a few variables here. I've also got Lewis. So this pair of curly brackets is a Lewis service, language understanding and intelligence, that's going to take the input from a bot, figure out what the question is being asked, and pull all the data entities out of that, and then I can map that into my mainframe connector, which you should have realized probably is not logged in anymore either. So let's look at what the mainframe side of this looks like first. So this is under development. This is the mapping tool. So I can open this up again. This is live. Oh, I've already got the cursor in the wrong place. Let's start that again. Okay, kicks T. Who knows this stuff? People, don't be embarrassed. I bet there's more than that, really. Okay, and we've got a nice, simple little banking application called Woodgrove Bank. And I could put in somebody's name, and I can never remember what the account number is. This is CHK 1566112. Hit the button, and I get an account balance back from this thing. So wouldn't it be great if I could connect to this from a Logic app and drive it that way, versus having to have people, and in this case I'm actually going to use a bot, so it can be any channel. You could ask for the balance over Cortana or some other channel like Skype or something else, Slack, et cetera, to be able to integrate with these mainframe applications just like they were databases or SaaS systems or anything else. Well, let me pop over to another window. And we'll just start this over. This may be a bit slow the first time. I didn't mean to fire this up. So let's go to this bot. It's probably going to time out the first time, just to warn you. And it's going to whir around and spin up a bunch of stuff. And it should hopefully ask me how I'm doing in a second. Then I'm going to be able to type in a question. Here we go. Welcome you. Thank you very much. So to save time, and I could type in anything, but to save time, I've just got a couple of handy dandy buttons which do the typing for me. So it says get the checking account. Well, it's done already. Get the checking account using that account number, the balance for Kim Ackers. Now, I could simplify this even more and not even have to provide the checking account number, because I could do a lookup first for Kim Ackers and then return that and give the list and say which account you're interested in. But you kind of get the idea. It's returning the balance from the host just as easily as it was with me going in there and typing it into the mainframe screens directly. And using this sort of mapping tech, you know, the other thing I can do, you know, if I flip to design mode, you can see, you know, all the fields that I was putting in, kicks TST, and the progression takes me there. I type in Woodgrove Bank, get balance, right? I go down, put in the fields, and then the next one is I select the account balance and get the results back. And I'm done, right? And this will automatically create a map for me, which goes into the integration account and then drives the connector. So that's where you see, in the Logic app, you see the sort of name of the screen that you want to call, and then provides the input and output fields of that screen. And just sort of quickly flipping back to that Logic app, you know, the response is as simple as just saying, like, you know, here's the first name and last name, and put those in, and then get the balance back, and just automatically maps that in and out. In this case, using the bot framework to do that from the test client. You see how easy it is to now connect these things together. Okay. Back to the slides. What we got next? Even more announcements. Do you want to do this one?
Yeah, sure. So we're also announcing today public preview availability of Logic apps in China. The China Azure Data Center has some very specific requirements unique to that country. Obviously, lots of people do things like logistics and manufacturing there. So we now have the ability to deploy Logic apps within that region. We also have another new connector, which is the SFTP, the SSH flavor of SFTP, if you're not familiar with all the different SFTPs. No, I admit I wasn't till we found this out. that is available in public preview today. That also supports much higher payloads than we previously had available for some of our SFTP connectors. We're also making generally available IBM MQ connector. So if IBM MQ is part of your infrastructure and your estate, then you're now able to connect to it, and that is all generally available, ready to go. We also now support MSI. So MSI, Managed Service Identity, is a concept that's across Azure services, allowing you to create effectively a service account that you run your services with, and Logic Apps supports that. Client Correlation ID allows you to effectively put tracking IDs in the triggers of your Logic Apps so you can track across a bunch of them to work out what's happened across a number of different Logic Apps. And then finally, there's lots of announcements you've probably seen today for version 2 of functions. We also support that within Logic Apps. And again, Logic Apps and functions are a really, really great pairing together, allowing you to just write the really, really core code that you, if you're a developer, is unique to your business, and let Logic Apps orchestrate that and make it easy to connect to other systems. So we just need to wrap up the last few bits of our presentation, and then we take some questions. So for Azure Integration Services, there's a number of little actions you can take away. Obviously, we have the homepage, which is aka.ms/iPaaS you can go to. If you want to go and look at the Gartner Magic Quadrant details, so we proved we weren't lying earlier on in the slide, you can do that. There's a webcast, Azure Essentials, talking about the concepts in Azure Integration Services, and on, I assume, Friday this week, yours truly will be starring in an Azure Friday session, so you get to look at me being all embarrassed on screen doing that. And finally, go and have a look at that white paper and see all the, how all the services work together, how the concepts come together, and how you can take Azure Integration Services forward, build your own integration platform in the cloud. And of course, we'll be in the expo all week, including all the other teams involved. So API Management Service Plus Event Grid will have representatives there. So if you have specific questions on those services, come and ask us. Or if you want to learn more about the All Up service, then of course, any of us will be happy to answer that.
I'm going to show them the demo.
Oh, okay, right.
We've got a couple of minutes. I just did it again and it worked. So if I flip back, you can see this one worked. This is the one that ran, I'm not sure what was going on at 5:01. And this time, you know, if I open this thing up, I can see that it all worked fine. And when I go over to Dynamics, I can see that it created the order that I had. I've used a different description. For some reason, I put the currency in the wrong field because I'm not an SAP user and I do not create purchase orders as part of my day job. So apologies about that. But I did want to show you one other thing that I quickly kind of glossed over, and that is the ability to do the schema generation. Now, in order to kind of get data in and out, it's XML based. So how do I get the XML? Well, we can generate the schemas for you, generate the message formats required to do the mapping in and out. And we can do that automatically. So we have a connector or an action on our connector that actually does the schema generation. So rather than this being a tool that you kind of run, you kind of point at things and kind of get them back, we actually give the ability to automate this as part of your DevOps pipeline as well. Because in this case, what I'm doing is I'm just got a simple kind of manual trigger. I'm going to get the schemas from SAP, and here I just kind of path into the object in SAP that I want to generate the schemas for, and just sort of zoom in a bit there. So the orders of 05 and 700 send, and then I can use our ARM template connector and automatically put the schemas that have been generated into my integration account. So if I sort of pop back a bit, see I should have an integration account here, and this is really accounting exercise. You can see I've got a integration account. This is where I put the things I was talking about earlier, schemas, maps. So I've got 9 in there. And if I just open this up and click on generate schema, and I can just run this thing super easily, just run the manual trigger, and just give it a second to run. See, it's run already. I can open that up. And it will generate multiple schemas because the schemas have a relationship with one another. So you can see I've actually got 5 schemas created here. And I can iterate over them and look at the schemas that have been created. If it opens the card for me, again, not quite sure why that's so slow. Let's come back to that. Should be able to go to the integration account and have a look and sometimes it has updated. Yes, it hasn't remembered what it is. So now I have 14 schemas in integration accounts. Created those 5 schemas that you saw in that for each loop automatically and put them in the integration account format, which means I can keep things in sync. Somebody changes something, I can automatically regenerate the schemas and put them back in the integration account over the top of the other ones. Okay, sorry, more diversion.
Yes, sir. So you're going to do logic apps wrap up? Or
Sure.
One more thing.
Do we have one more thing?
No, that's it.
Okay,
That's it. We're done.
Yeah. So in terms of logic apps wrap up, if you're one of the people, one of the many who didn't put their hands up for using logic apps, I encourage you to try it out. It really is very easy to use. As you can see, all the demos we're putting together, and we're connecting to mainframes and SAP, and using VS Code to sort of generate these things manually, a whole bunch of things. Please try some of it out and let us know what you think. It's very easy and quick to get started. You just use some of these links. You can apply to participate in our integration service environment private preview. You can install the VS Code extension, of course, and play around with that and tell us what you think. And reach out to us on logicappsio on Twitter, or logicappsemail at microsoft.com. And the final thing is we're doing a live webcast on Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Not quite sure yet, where yet, but here somewhere. So again, we have a YouTube channel where we do this every month or so. It's been a couple of months since we last did one. So tune in or come along to that as well.
And just to reiterate, there is so much more to tell as part of this all-up integration story on the Microsoft platform. So please, if you've got time, make time for some of these sessions. We'll hear more about the story, more about the services as part of it, and because we've got lots to tell you. So one more thing to have, and this is one of your first sessions, so hopefully you haven't had this message too much time, but you have an evaluation option within the app. Hopefully you've all got that on your phone. We really, really do listen to the feedback and really appreciate what you tell us about the sessions that we deliver. So if you get time, please fill in feedback and let us know what you thought.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the end of our presentation. We'll take questions on the mics in a second, but thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for everyone for coming. Thanks, Matthew.
So if you do have questions, come down on the mic and we'll answer them.
Question.
Yes.
What's the best practice for managing the life cycle of a logic app, specifically like with an SAP or something where you have a development, a quality, and a production environment? How do you manage those connections?
You answer that one, or shall I get that one?
You get that one.
I'll get that one. Okay, so logic apps, effectively you can deploy logic apps as ARM templates, Azure Resource Manager templates. So what we suggest people do is use that textual format, which is across all those Azure services, and build that into your CI/CD pipeline. So you can have a development subscription. How you separate up your subscriptions and environments is up to you. You could use separate subscriptions, separate resource groups. It's entirely your call. But you can effectively document them as ARM templates and move them across your CI/CD pipeline using those. And that's the same whatever systems you're connecting to with the Logic app.
Thank you.
No problem. Other question?
Hey.
Yeah.
Very excited about the ISE private preview. That's going to be awesome for us. So the one question I did have was, in the past we've worked with SFTP servers for working with other vendors, and it's is there a best practice for standing up an SFTP service? I've seen standing it up on a Windows server, but is there anything that's close to like just as a service for SFTP?
Short answer, no, not currently. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically just stand up Windows or Linux and...
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. This slide should we go to?
Sure. Are you going to increase the file size? I saw you're showing that there's different integration runtime hit on-prem. Is there going to be a better way to send files larger than 20 megabytes to local file storage?
Yes.
I'm going to write ADF.
Yes. So there'll be the connectors we kind of prioritize are the data ones, so SQL and FTP and others, to be able to move large volumes of data across the VNet between obviously your ICE and your on-premises environment. Coming kind of later, kind of with that, will be the ability to actually have control over some of the throughput throttles and other things. So if your majority of your workload is running like FTP or SQL or something else, you'll be able to prioritize that. Again, to be able to give you more throughput, higher data throughput, and other performance.
Is there a timeline for that?
So we're trying to get the public preview out, which, as we mentioned on the slide, will be before the end of this year. It'll probably be shortly or sometime after that we start adding more features. So one of the ones we're not quite sure is going to land for public preview, but will be hopefully soon after, is the ability to decide which connectors you want deployed into that environment for similar reasons. So you actually be able to only deploy the ones you want to deploy. And essentially, if you want to lock it down and only have a certain subset of connectors, you'll be able to do that. And kind of coming with that will be the ability to actually change some of the connector configuration that suits your needs better, so you can have more optimized environment. Let's say hopefully in the next 6 months or so, but not definitely yet.
Thank you.
All right.
So,
Hi. Any plans for an on-premises Active Directory connector?
So AD, so the way we'll be connecting with AD is through Event Grid. So some of that will depend on whether the AD to Event Grid integration will work with on-prem AD. I don't know the answer to that. We can find out. But
Is there currently an interface within Event Grid to modify objects within an on-prem Active Directory?
I don't know. That's a question I don't know. But I do know that they are working on Azure AD kind of Event Grid event emission.
For Azure AD, the cloud.
Yeah, I don't know what the story is, whether it extends beyond Azure.
Okay, thank you.
this side?
Hi. Is it possible to perform automated tests on a Logic apps as part of a CI/CD pipeline?
So the short answer is yes. The longer answer is it's not as great an experience as we like. So Logic Apps has a rich set of kind of management APIs, and one of those is you can run a Logic app, you can provide input data to the Logic app, essentially what the trigger would generate, and you can give that to the Logic app, and then it will run based on the data. So you can create kind of, I don't know, integration tests fairly easily by doing that. So you could write a unit test against an entire Logic app. But there's some work we're planning out at the moment to provide more testing features, one of which will be the ability to run individual steps in the Logic app, and figuring out whether it's possible to provide an API to actually call individual steps in the Logic app. And then you have true unit testing of your Logic app as well, and the ability to kind of do things like management of it to production between kind of test and prod to be able to make changes. So that's all work we're planning out at the moment.
Thank you very much.
Hi. According to the examples you have shown, it looks like a quite decoupled architecture with independent components. My question is it possible to implement a transaction-oriented system? So if something fails in between, then to roll back?
Without knowing the specifics, it's hard to give a definitive answer to that. Some of the reasons for wanting kind of traditional transactions are to avoid things like duplication of data or data loss, right? So we have a sort of different approach in many of the ways we do things in the cloud. One example of that is Service Bus, where they have the ability to have a competing consumer pattern, but there's no kind of traditional distributed transactions that just don't work well at cloud scale. But it does give the ability to do order delivery and no message duplication through the usage of how sessions work in Service Bus to ensure you can get transaction-like semantics on a message queue in the cloud. If you're thinking more of databases and you've got 3 databases and you want to roll them all back if they fail, that's a more problematic architecture when you run that in the cloud.
Not on the database level, but more on the transaction level.
Yeah, I don't think we can answer that question here. All right.
Hello. One of my questions is, we have some passwords that change like every month, and managing the connections is a little horrible. And so I was going to say, do y'all have any plans to integrate with any kind of password management systems like Password Vault?
Such as?
Like Password Vault. Like, for example, ServiceNow, right? I know you guys have a ServiceNow integration.
Yeah.
And so if I know that inside that connection, you have to change, like, set the password. And so is there a way to somehow, on-prem, we use an SDK, a Password Vault SDK, to go fetch a password, and then we'll use that, reuse that for, like an orchestrator, multiple steps. Is there something like that available?
Key Vault, yeah. So we've got Key Vault integration coming, which will provide some of those kind of capabilities. I think if you had your own password management software and you wanted to connect to that, or you had a third-party SaaS application like ServiceNow and you wanted to do that, it would depend on which APIs they exposed to be able to do it, whether it's feasible to essentially build a custom connector against those APIs, or whether we can add it as part of our connector. One of the best ways to kind of surface that up to us so we can track it is to go to aka.ms/logicappswish and actually add it into our user voice. And then we can kind of track it, or send an email to us and we can take a look at that to see whether there's an easy way to kind of unblock you on that now, or whether it's work that we'd have to plan in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you very much. We've got more questions. Oh.
Some basic questions. The integration environment with the VNet, can you explain a little bit? Like, how does the data flow, and when does my data travels to on-prem? And if it's everything is sitting in a VNet, how does it talk to other Azure services?
So this is standard Azure VNet technology that we're building on top of.
I think in the diagram, the integration environment actually talk to various different Azure services. Are they all sitting inside the VNet, or?
So you can use a capability called service endpoints to be able to configure those Azure services to talk to Logic Apps in the same VNet through configuration of the service endpoints on these services that you want to be on the VNet. So you get sort of configuration of that.
But if it has to talk to other type of integration services that other than Logic App?
Yeah, like, I mean, you could do it with Service Bus, for example, and on the VNet if you want to do it, blob storage or a bunch of others. If they have service endpoint support for those services, they can be on the same VNet.
Okay, they have to support
service endpoints. Yeah, it's when you go to the service, you'll see a service endpoint configuration, and you can set that up to use service endpoints. Configure the VNet to use.
And if it doesn't support VNet, that means the data actually travel outside of.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Again, without knowing which services you're looking at specifically. But.
Okay, and when you talk to on-prem, how does it work? Is it traditional VNet connection? Is it over some express route?
Yeah, you can run it over express route if you want to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
I was using point to site in this demo, but express route is an obvious configuration.
We know that it's to adopt that. The first thing is security.
Yep.
So I look at the diagram. See, okay, when is the data actually travels out of to public internet? That's what we have.
Okay. Sounds like an integration pattern we should have now.
Indeed, yes.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks.
One more. Can I ask a service bus question or not?
You can. We might not know the answer.
Okay, we'll try. There's a limitation on the message size right now of 1 MB. Is there a plan to increase that?
Don't know. The service bus guys are right next to us on the expo floor.
Okay.
They would be able to answer that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Last one. The integration account. It's quite. I mean, it's for enterprises level, right? Is there any plans on changing the price level on that, or?
So there's two right now. There's the standard and basic.
Okay.
Basic is about 1/3 of the cost of standard. We are looking at if there's more we can do for sort of lower usage scenarios, but we don't have anything concrete yet we can share on that.